How can recognition be a trap? In Glen Coulthard's Red Skin, White Masks, he asks us to consider how the Canadian government and other governments around the world, how their emphasis upon recognition in the eyes of Indigenous peoples is actually a trap in order to continue colonial authority and colonial oppression of those people. So let me explain how. To properly understand Red Skin, White Masks, I think you need some cursory knowledge of Frantz Fanon's Black Skin, White Masks, which, if enough of you ask, I can provide a little explanation for so you know more about it. But essentially in Black Skin, White Masks, Fanon asks his reader how much of their identity comes to them not because it makes sense themselves, but because it is bestowed upon them by people in authority, specifically how Black people attain their identity in the eyes of colonial authority. In his case, growing up in Martinique, he was expected to learn French from France. He was expected to learn their culture and language. And so his entire identity was shaped through colonial authority. And he's like, in that moment, they love me. When I do what they want me to do, they approve of me. And he's like, we have to separate ourselves from that, even if you're rewarded for it, even if you gain a status of being human for it. The point is for Fanon to challenge these authorities and how they hold a monopoly over who gets to live, who gets to have an identity, and who is subhuman. Now, Coulthard picks up this idea and asks it about Indigenous peoples in Canada, specifically the effort to be recognized by the Canadian state, or this is how much the Canadian state is willing to offer, and this is applicable all over the world, where they, instead of trying to assimilate Indigenous people, choose the route of recognition. They recognize Indigenous people in their culture and language and try to do the bare minimum, really, to preserve these things. Coulthard asks, but what about like political autonomy? What about autonomy over resources? Autonomy over how to actually organize entire communities? About taking the land back? How about all of that? To which the Canadian government and other colonial governments are like, no. That's not what we mean. What are you talking about? Land back. This is ridiculous. What do you mean? What do you mean equal access to resources on the land that you occupy, or full access to resources on the land you occupy? This is all too much. So Coulthard suggests then we have to be wary of the ways that some people's humanity, their identity, is filtered through people in power to bestow that identity on them. How we must, as a people, as a human species, challenge that idea and find humanity in people as they are in themselves. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? How much further can we take this? Take care.